Veterans Day was really established originally as Armistice Day, and the occasion came following World War I. That's a long time ago for young people today, but I remember people who were veterans in World War I because the concept of recognizing the people who had served in that war that was at that time thought to be the war that would end all wars was a way of recognizing the men and women who had served in the military, and most of those were men in those days. Very few women were in the service. Most of those women were as nurses. And they were recognizing those people who had been a part of that war, who had sacrificed their lives in many respects, some of them even to the point of death, but they had given so much to bring freedom to the world. So they recognized it at a day called Armistice Day. And then in the 1930s, while I was in elementary school, they decided that it should have an official recognition, and they declared it a holiday, and it was declared an Armistice Day, and we began celebrating that during the 1930s as an annual occasion on November 11.
All we've been given by those who came before, the dream of a nation where freedom would endure, the working prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know America, America, I gave my best to you.
Well, November 11 was the day that the armistice was signed to end the war in Europe. The war with Germany, primarily with Germany. And it was signed on November 11th in France. It was signed at 11 o'clock on that day, and thus the occasion was the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, and that's why it was celebrated on November 11th.
Each generation, from the plains to distant shore, with the gifts they were given, were determined to leave more. Battles fought together, acts of conscience fought alone. These are the seeds from which America has grown. Let them say I was one who believed in sharing the blessings that I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave best to you.
Well, the story of this nation is something that's very powerful. And many people take for granted the freedoms and the blessings that we enjoy as they do a lot of things of value. They just say, well, these just happened and we just enjoy them. But they didn't just happen. The freedoms that we have were won by people who responded to the call for military service from the very beginning of our country, when the Revolutionary War established our country, and then in the dozen wars that have followed, men and women stepped forth to serve in the military to not only establish the country, but to defend and to protect and preserve the freedoms and the blessings that we have. And young people need to be able to pick up that torch of patriotism that has been in our country's history from the very beginning, and that not take it for granted, but that do something to remember the people who helped preserve those freedoms for us. And those people are those that we call veterans. And it can be done in a number of ways. They can remember people in their own families who may have served. They can remember people who they know about who have served. They can do such things as just thanking people for their military service. They can demonstrate by waving the flag on that particular day, by putting the flag out in front of their home, and by observing ceremonies in school, and by listening to the stories of people who have served in the military, telling of their experiences, some good, not so good, that were people who helped preserve our nation's freedoms.
For those who think they have nothing to share, who fear in their hearts there is no hero there, know each quiet act of dignity is that which fortifies the soul of a nation. I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, I gave my best to you.